Welcome to another Quantum Conversation, brought to you by AcousticHealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and I invite you to sit back as we enter the quantum realm, that space of the greater part of you. It is your connection to infinite possibilities, infinite potential, and infinite mastery. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. As we're talking about mastery, one of the skills that comes online from a heart-centered living is channeling. And my guest today is someone who has been channeling for many decades, and she actually helps people learn how they too can channel. So this is called What's Love Got to Do About It? Well, we're going to learn that it's everything, because it is the backbone of channeling. Let's welcome Sheryl Noday back for this quantum conversation. Sheryl, it's so good to see you again. Welcome.
Thank you. It is great to be here. It's great to see you. I'm so excited to talk about my favorite subject.
Yes, okay, your favorite subject, channeling. I just want to share with everyone, we've done channeling workshops in the past, and that completely opened me up to a new level. And it's really very interesting because the title of this show is What's Love Got to Do with It? And I want to have you preface this by saying our higher self, or explaining how our higher self and the guides are actually gatekeepers that are protecting us and the information that comes through. Share more on this.
Yes, absolutely. Well, in the channeling process, our higher self must be involved because we're accessing those higher energies. And so many people ask me, well, how do I access those higher energies? How do I be in that frequency of love? And first and foremost, we must access our higher self. And that's how we get out of our human self. And that doesn't mean that there's anything less than our human self, but we want to ascend, become, reach forward, reach in depth to that God, Goddess, all that is spark of light within us. And once we connect to her, since you're female, I'm female, she's female, our higher self would be the same gender that we are in this life. The higher self is definitely not limited to a gender, but will come to us as the gender that we are in this lifetime. And so when I connect to her, and I'm connected to those higher energies, it is at that point in time that I want to make that connection with the greater unseen. And so higher self can act as a gatekeeper, yes, but there are times that I've seen that higher self brings in multiple gatekeepers, and it is unique for each individual. Just like we have our own thumbprint, it is unique in that way. So someone their higher self might be speaking in class, and then a multiple guide comes forward that will act as gatekeeper as well. And that's the fun of it, because there's really no script.
And so because of that connection with the higher self, that is really how people can feel confident and trust the information that they're getting. Do you ever have people start to freak out or question that? Because some would say that it's giving yourself away. So do you want to explain anything else on that aspect? That's why the love connection, the love frequency is so important.
Yes. Well, you see, when we channel, we don't give ourselves away, but we lose our humanness to become spirit. And so that is really who we are. It is our spirit that comes onto the physical plane. It is our soul that comes through this physical form. And so when we step aside, we don't lose ourselves. We become more of who we are. And that's absolutely beautiful. I can promise you that without a life of channeling, I'll just speak for myself as I haven't met you all, that it would be very different here. You see, it'd be very different on the planet, not having that sense of spirituality. So when we channel, we don't lose ourselves. We step aside and we forget about that ego sense, and we become more spirit and more spirit of ourselves. We become our higher selves, and we're able to connect to those higher frequency beings and give them voice. You notice when people channel, it's for a limited amount of time, maybe 15 minutes, an hour, a couple hours. It's never for a couple of weeks at a time. They have to come back to be in their physical form. So what does love have to do with all of this? When you are in that frequency of love, there is no way that you can't bring anything more forward that is not of the same. And so that is why we grow. That is why we stretch always to see what's hidden within us, what we've hidden from ourselves, what's in the back of the closet, no matter how many times we've gone in that closet to look, because of the light, there will always be aspects of shadow. And we cannot be afraid of that shadow, but illuminate the shadow. The shadow is the part that has the depth, and we want to illuminate that shadow. So it is so beautiful. There's no way of doing anything wrong. There's just more and more choices to make. It's a glorious path like nothing else. I hope that answered it.
It does. And it's really beautiful because it brings to mind that there's a possibility that, well, I'm certain that it's more than just a possibility. We are channeling many times and we may not even be aware of it. Is that safe to say?
That is very safe to say.
A higher perspective. And so sometimes, you know, if we're with our families or people who maybe, well, they may not be on the same frequency as us, but if we like close our eyes and start to say things and we're speaking through the heart, we could be channeling at that point.
Well, absolutely. And that brings up a really good point, because we need to, when we trans channel, when we fully, quote unquote, become spirit and bring in another consciousness, another personality that is not our own. And see, that this is what is so wonderful about really learning how to channel and having the foundation, is because what is different than a subpersonality and an outside being in the universe? Well, someone may not know that if they're just beginning. And so with love and with creating a safe foundation, we do exercises to get to know these aspects of ourself. So when you connect with your higher self and another being is invited in, you know it's not an aspect of yourself coming forward. You know it's an outside being that's being directed and guided and protected and being your gatekeeper from the higher self, or another being that your higher self has assigned to the gatekeeper. Those are ways that you absolutely trust. Another way that you trust is that the unconditional love is absolutely so phenomenal that there's no way that that can be made up, no matter how clever a subpersonality is. So why would a subpersonality come up? And that is because it's part of the matrix of us that just needs healing, that is just asking, like, hey, take a look at me. I want to rewire myself. I'm looking for your attention. And so students learn the art of personal growth. They learn about the dynamic crystal that we are, the spark of consciousness that we are, that is ever growing, ever changing, and that is absolutely our right to bring in our star brothers and sisters. Absolutely all right.
Beautiful. I know so many are eager to do this. And you say that it's a birthright, that this channeling is a birthright. This is a connection. Again, when we're speaking about higher self connection, soul embodiment, then we are connected. It's almost on a quantum level in the unified field that we're connected to. And so, all right, I'm hearing a question from the audience about making sure it's of the highest. How do you ensure that it's of the highest light and not some distracting or malevolent light?
Let me piggyback on what you mentioned before that I wanted to comment on. How do we We are always channeling, absolutely. And how does a person know? You're connected to your heart. You just had a really good yoga class. You feel really, really clean. You've been on a fast or a juice, or you're in love with someone and completely in this love vibration. And all of a sudden, you're just spewing out these wonderful comments.
All right.
Absolutely. When you, I don't want to use the word lose yourself, but when you become a higher energy by stepping outside of the ego and going into our own altered states of consciousness. When you drive your car, you're in an altered state of consciousness. When you're meditating, you're in an altered state of consciousness. When you're in the shower, everybody sings great. You're in an altered state of consciousness. And those are states of channeling. When musicians and artists are in the flow, are they channeling? They may not be channeling a being, but they're channeling creativity. You see? So now your next question is, how do we know that it's absolutely love-based? When was that the question?
Yes.
It's love-based. Okay.
The highest light rather than malevolent.
Absolutely no, because it comes through every cell of your being. It's like being plugged into an electric socket where you can't think if you wanted to. I tell a lot of our students this, that you're deeper than you realize. If I was to say, hey, snap out of it, balance your checkbook right now, you would not be able to do it. And we do a lot of those exercises to show people how really deep and far you already are. If you're thinking and you're thinking and you're thinking, then you might want to ask yourself to step a little step deeper, step aside, continually ask for that splash of love, and continuing with the higher self. These are exercises that even the person that's been channeling for a long time still does.
Yes. Yes. Okay. I recall, I just want to speak to getting out of the way, the ego getting out of the way. That could be hard. In my own experience, I'll share it for everyone to understand how the questions that we might have, how the ego can easily jump back in and start to question things. We were in a workshop and going through the exercises that you were teaching, and I heard very clearly, we are the Blue Ray Collective. And my mind jumped in and doubted that and said, did you say the Blue Winged Collective? And you said, no, pay attention. It's always the first impression. And now, several years later, I realize what that Blue Ray Collective is. Mm-hmm. And they've always been my guides, and it's quite beautiful. So yes, I'd love to develop that more. People would love to develop their channeling skills more. Yeah. But yet we tend to say, well, why do we need another channel? Why, if everyone's doing it, what do I have to say that's different? And so why is that so important?
Which part? To separate the ego consciousness from the being?
Channel and to continue to channel. I mean, I guess that's two questions. We can see when the ego steps back in, but why is it so important to bring forward these messages, to share these messages? I think that's more important, is that we don't just sit on this, do we? We have to share it.
Right.
Make the world a better place.
Well, when your guides come to you, that is a unique combination of frequencies that are not there right now. You're Loren, and when you connect with the blue ray light or the blue beam, they're collect with that frequency, you now create a new being, right? It's a new vibration that is not here yet. It's a birth. I'm here, me, talking as Sheryl. When Syria Family comes through, you're going to be hearing Syria Family, but it is a unique thumbprint, even if they leave and I'm here talking to you. So that unique thumbprint has a frequency, has a birth unto itself, and brings a very specific light, even if someone else was to channel them. Because it's important for us to be clear, because they do come through us. They do come through us, and we must learn the practical application of how to step aside, how to relax, how to put to bed, put to sleep our overactive mind so that information comes through clearly. If your guides and Syria Family says exactly the same thing, it is the frequency in which they're communicating. Your guides might reach somebody, my guides might reach somebody else, but in the end, there's this new frequency that has been born. Now let's look at the beautiful landscape behind you. The light that is on one side is the same light that's on the other side that's hitting these branches over here. It's all coming from the same source. But when I look at this picture, I see a greater highlight over here, and I see a more diverse highlight over here. But it's from the same source. It's from the sunlight. And so our spiritual guides are coming from the light. I've been channeling for a long time, but I say that I'm always a beginner because we want to be humble, because there's so much light to be coming through. The channel that I am today was different than the channel I was the last time that we met, was different than the channel that I'm going to be in the next 10 years. Because as we grow, the guides are growing too. It's not stagnant. The light is not stagnant. And that's what we're reaching for. So anybody that feels as though that they're being called, or they might want to give it a try, or they too can do it, go for it, because you are being called. And there will be people in your life to touch. And I think one of the most beautiful things in being a channel and working with spirit is that it is a co-created effort. But teaching and channeling does not have to be limited just to classes and one-on-one. You do it throughout your life. You do it when you go to the grocery store. You do it when you go to the bank. You do it when you fill up your car for gas, because it is the connection with the other human beings.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for that. Because we would think, again, why is it important? But it's a frequency. And so we are raising our own vibration when we are tuning in. Would that be the exercise? Would you call it connecting, tuning in? Is that what's going on here? We're raising our frequency. We're matching another frequency, and we're giving birth to a new being. So maybe this is a good time to explain the different types of channeling. You mentioned trance channel and a mediumship, and there's also conscious channel. What are the differences in those descriptions?
All right. I'll try to explain them.
All right.
It's to explain them in a linear way is a little challenging, because they are ominous and they are horizontal rather than linear, but let's give it a shot. The trance channeling is when the channel steps aside and another being comes in, and you hear and see and experience their full personality. So none should come forward of the channel and trance channeling. And we see that with Lazarus. We see that with the Seth material with Jane Roberts. It is clearly Seth. Now there's something that is called, and I do trance channeling, where you're talking with Syria Family. There is something that is conscious channeling or relay channeling, and that is where the being is fully conscious and does not go anywhere and really hears telepathically. And that telepathic information comes to them, and they simply share what they're seeing, which is clairvoyant, or share what they're hearing. And that still requires, it's not that it's easier at all. It requires for the human to be extremely clear, not to have any projection, not to color it at all, but to be a clear conduit. This is what I saw. This is what I heard. And just to deliver it. And that's very wonderful as well. There's also automatic writing. So all of these require that the individual still steps aside, but just in different ways. So when you're automatic writing, whereas one of the great authors, what is his name? He says that he is not channeling. He makes that very clear. He's not channeling, but and instead it's inspired, because he is present and he's dotting every I and crossing every T and reading it as it's coming forward. So he says, I'm not channeling, it's inspired. Now, if he was channeling, it would still have notes of inspiration, but it would be the being coming through just using the arm. What is different from being in the zone when a musician is playing, when an artist is painting, or an artist is doing any kind of work, and hours upon hours go by and they're just in the zone in that way? It's hard to define what the uniqueness with every individual, but in that zone consciousness, they still are removed. We've heard over and over, I don't know what happened. It came through me. It just flew right through me. I thought I was going to sit down and do this, and it just came right through me. Was that a channeling experience? Yes, indeed it was. Was that a trance channeling experience of a being? Probably not, because the individual, we don't know really who came through. And you do want to know. You do, and you really have every right to know. So you could say, I stepped aside and this beautiful energy came through. Gosh, I think I channeled. I want to really learn more about that. I'd like to have more dominion with that. I'd like to be able to do that again with awareness.
Yes. Okay. All right. That's really good. I just have noticed at times, as you're speaking, I'm looking at things that I've done, creative things that I've done. And one of the things that I love to do is making videos. All right. So making videos and maybe music videos with images and music, and I'm in the flow, and there's actual magic that happens. Like one time I went and I did a turtle release on the beach with these turtles, and my thinking mind would be, oh, you got to have it this way, this way, this way. Well, when I was able to step aside and I just needed to get things done, things flowed in an incredible way. And the most miraculous thing is the last image of this little turtle going into the ocean with a wave taking him. And the way the music crescendoed at the exact same spot was like magic.
Or magic.
Be channeling. And so it's our guides. Here's a question here. Would it even be an aspect of our higher self that's coming through then?
It could be. That's beautiful. And let's not forget our own intuition.
Our own intuition.
Let's not forget about that one, which is a lot of people want to forget because channeling has become very popular. So a lot of times we want to say I was channeling something, but our own intuition, our intuition lives in our brain, the expansion of our brain. So we're talking about channeling today. We're talking about this connection, but where does this connection lead us to ultimately? Back to the master within. You see, it comes all the way back. So we ascend to meet these guides, to connect with these guides, to bring them forth. But all along, they're empowering us. All along, they're saying, you have this wisdom. This is who you are. So it's a symbiotic relationship. So let's never forget the intuition that is growing within us. So that could have been an amazing, a glorified, intuitive moment that you knew that turtle was going to go in that water at that point in time, and you synchronize it in that moment with the light. You see, they're constantly teaching us that we are these divine beings.
That's beautiful. So it's us. We can take the credit for it. Okay. All right. And so, all right, let's go back to, some of the trance channels. All right. That's very interesting because we've all seen it, right? We have Abraham Hicks. The author, is it Neil Donald Walsh?
No, I can't think of his name.
Conversations with God. Okay, somebody else. That's okay. his mind came. So with trance channels.
The name.
Okay, and so then there's Rana Herman. And I've been in front of Rana. She brings forward Archangel Michael.
Uh-huh.
And literally when she brings him forward, when she brings him through, she has to like leave after she's done channeling. She has to go to the restroom. She's like, her whole system is ready to just whoosh. So that's very interesting. But when she brings him through, her eyes light up and twinkle. Her whole physical beingness looks different. And some trance channels, the voice changes.
Mm-hmm.
You could hear an accent maybe,
Mm-hmm.
or a stronger voice. Would that be a trance channel where someone?
That's not the way to define it. We wouldn't want to do that as to say, well, their voice changed, so they're trance channeling. We want to feel the frequency and the personality. So you like Daniel Scranton, you know that they're channeling a being, that being identifies itself. It has its own frequency, its own rhythm, its own personality. At many times it comes right through the physical form of the individual. You can see facial structures, body structures. You can see this stuff, but if I like my students to feel, look with your eyes closed, and what do you feel? What do you really feel? Just like holding a crystal, you're holding two crystals in each palm of the hand, both the same weight, both the same size, really both spheres. How could you tell what type of stone this is, what type of crystal that is? So that's what we want to enhance, the inner self.
So
being enhanced in the channeling process.
Okay, well, we're going to have you channel the Syria family in just a moment. But for those who are interested in developing this
here, this is what we do in class a lot, Loren, is that we do have our eyes are closed. And so many students want to say, give me a name, give me a name. And the beings will always say, my frequency, my signature is this. How can you walk into a room with your eyes closed and know who's there? We sense our friends. So I just want to add that.
So that is beautiful. So when we start to channel, can you give us a few, for those who are looking forward to developing this, can you give us a protocol? Because I think that we can look in our lives, we can look back at and know that some of us can write easily. And then you go back and you look at what you wrote and you can say that was a higher frequency, whether, and without trying to identify if it was another being or if it was just a higher frequency of us on a soul level. Maybe it's the soul coming through. Is there a particular protocol, a tuning in? Can you share just a little bit of that we can take and practice in our own space?
A process, a way that should always, in any connection, if no matter what anybody is doing, if they're going to go into meditation, if they're going to go into an art space, if they're going to go into a music space, if they want to go into any sort of ideology where they want to disconnect from themselves, just put that aside just for a little bit of time.
Okay.
Always connect with your higher self first. If you've driven 2 hours and you have stress from being on the road, if you've had a complicated day and you're coming home, I make this practice whenever I'm going to get involved and do something different throughout the day. I will just sit and disconnect from what I had just completed. And so we can all just take a moment to put your hand on your heart, put your feet firmly planted on the ground. Give yourself permission is a huge one to just simply let go. Just simply let go and imagine yourself if you were filled with light. And then at that point in time, say, I'm calling upon, I'm inviting in, I'm acknowledging that I am a spark of light. And those that are clairvoyant will see, those that have the telepathy already established will hear. You will feel a different rhythm to your heart because that is in essence who we are. And you've all heard this before, that we are just here having this human experience. And we've become so much more connected to that than really who we really are, that we spend our entire life looking for who we really are when it's right here all along. So
Thank-
those are really simple, easy ways to start the process. It's always the same for everyone in that particular way, although we all have our unique thumbprint, but we all have to master the over talkative mind that is within all of us. That must be calmed, relaxed, made safe, because that is the part that will want to intervene.
Yes. And question and doubt
Yeah.
and judge. Okay. So that is a really good practice. As you were speaking that, I could sense that we were all doing that. So we've all lifted our vibration here. I trust that we've all lifted our vibration here. And that's a way that we could all move on this planet and assist others in this way. Like you said, when we go to the grocery store, everything, even when we're driving. And so receiving messages, it's interesting because it's almost like a gray, it's like, when you're driving in your car and you're looking at the sky and you see some beautiful clouds or sylphs and you feel a connection there, and maybe it's mixed with what you hear on the radio. We're in a different frequency there. So that's almost like we're channeling too, in a way, in a form. It is channeling higher frequencies.
I'm going into other states of consciousness.
Other states of consciousness.
The talking state of consciousness is one state. The listening is another. Meditation is another. We are, if we can imagine ourselves like a faceted crystal with all these other personalities and aspects, also have their own states of consciousness. This is why I truly believe that channeling is something that it is really for a lifetime, because you never stand in the same body of water twice. When you go take a shower tomorrow, it's going to be water coming out of the shower, but it's not the same water that you used yesterday. It's different water coming through. And so we never stand in the same body of water. We never go to the same place. We go to that unseen realm. And the more we get good at it, the more that we trust it, the more that we trust ourselves.
Talk a little bit more about the trust. What was that like for you as you were building your trust on this? Was it in hindsight, which is 2020, looking back at maybe what you wrote or maybe the recording? Is that how you built your trust, or is it more of a frequency that you trust?
It was more of a consciousness. That's something that I knew, that trust wasn't exactly easy in my life, channeling or not channeling. So it was something that I was very conscious of. And it was something that I knew that in order to really bring these beings forward, that I not only needed to, but I wanted to. I wanted to have that trust in myself. I wanted to be able to trust the decisions that I was making. I think that it can be so diabolical when a person is in that crux of making decisions and you have all of these decisions and you're just in that pain of not knowing what decision to make. That can be horrific.
Yeah.
And those kinds of experiences, I knew that I wanted to really feel that energy of trust, and to trust it and to love it and to have those feelings of self-love. I mean, to this very day, I still work with a trust crystal. I'll make a trust grid and make decisions quickly and know that I'm going to trust that. And even if it was quote unquote not the decision that I could have made, I know that there's nothing wrong with that because I get to make another decision. And so I have taught myself that I'm going to trust these experiences. And I think once you've done it for, a couple of decades, that, there was no issue with me today. In other words, even though I didn't sleep all that great last night, there was no issue with me today, that they were going to be present, that they were going to show up. I mean, there is that trust and having that co-creative relationship. So I think it's individual for everyone. I know for me, it was something to definitely work on and work with.
Yes, beautiful. Okay, so when you do this and you trust and you invite in and you build that rapport, you calm yourself down. Again, this is just a basic practice that we should all be doing all the time. And making decisions with that. I can see where that is important in this world because we know what we know within and we have a lot of support. And so the answers that come from that actually will help us in our life feel confident. Yes.
Well, imagine if everyone was channeling. Imagine if everyone was connecting to their higher self.
I see that world.
Would the world be in the state that it's in? So if we all immediately opened up our door and saw our friend coming over and immediately saw her in her higher self, or him in his higher self, and related to them on that level.
Yes.
So it's a beautiful thing. Now, for Loren and for those that are listening, when I learned how to channel many years ago, everyone wanted to channel something else other than their higher self. And I want to say, being with your higher self is awesome. Channeling your higher self is awesome. Don't let that be anything less at all. Don't let yourself become wrapped up in who it is, because that's really not it at all.
Okay, very good. I can hear a collective question about connecting with the higher self. You've said that that is really a great protocol and we should do it in every moment. And in fact, we're working on higher self embodiment now.
Yeah.
And so channeling will help us get there as well. Or this protocol that we call channeling, because it goes through our higher self. That is just a beautiful way to be. How you gave us a hand on the heart, calm down, breathe, relax, stop the mind. You're right, get out of the chatter. But is there any other way that you connect with the higher self? Do you visualize it? Do you call and invoke the higher self? What's that for you?
Okay. One thing, I don't control it at all. So I won't start to visualize. I sit very straight. I have my back straight like an antenna. I have my feet firmly planted on the ground and like I'm sitting now, and it's kind of an uncomfortable place to be in. So immediately you're telling the body something different is going to happen. You're not watching TV all straight like this. You're certainly not having dinner all straight like this. You wouldn't be talking to a friend all straight like this. But when you sit down and have your backs, let me see if I can do it for everybody. Have your back straight like that, and your legs come out where your knees are bent, and then your feet are firmly on the ground. That is the position of Isis in hieroglyphics. And that is the position of receiving. So right away, you're subconsciously and consciously telling yourself something different is going to happen here. Automatically, that's a good way to start. That's the way I start. I would either put my hands like this, or even palms up, just whatever feels natural really on that day, and close my eyes. And at that point, give myself permission. So closing my eyes, if we tell ourselves, okay, stop thinking like that, or do this right now, it can really be kind of authoritarian for people. And it can start to draw up like a parent. So we want to be really graceful, really gentle, really loving with ourselves. I'm now going to give myself permission. You can even say, like, I deserve this. It feels so good to be loved. It feels so good to be in this landscape that you're in. It feels whatever you really love. If it's being on the beach, if it's being next to a fireplace. And at that point, you can imagine yourself there, or perhaps you're just in a favorite room in your house. Or you can make a beautiful place in your house, or wherever you sit down, you can bring a crystal and a plant, and that has become beautiful. And just in that ceremonial state, you begin to shift. And at that point, you're knowing that you're shifting. You're knowing that you're doing something loving for yourself. And you begin to call in the light. You begin to call in your higher self. And then you're open to receive what comes. I can hear you. I can see you even. And then you begin a dialogue, because they're coming from an unseen level, and they want you to get it just as much as you want to get it. So when you receive something, you can say, I got that. And then they give you more. Or you can say, I'm not hearing you yet. I'm not seeing you yet. And to be calm about it, to really talk in a slow, methodical way, which is very different for us. We all want to talk very fast and very excitable. And so in those kinds of situations, I really slow it down.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. As you're sharing that, I know that we're all taking that protocol, that process in, and we'll work with it. It really is beautiful. So we're gonna have you channel the Syria family. What is that like for you when you are connecting to this frequency, to this energy, when you're calm? Are you a seer? Do you see them?
Yes.
Feel them?
Yes.
You see them and you feel them and you hear them.
Yes, it is quantum conversation, no doubt. It is quantum resonance. I mean, everything is coming through so fast. Everything is just amplified. There is no thought involved in it. If they're talking to you, there's no way I can say, don't say that to her. It would completely interrupt and break the trance. So it's flowing so incredibly quickly. And I there's a multiple of images coming through, and a multiple of words and things coming through. And sometimes you even wonder if it's really all coming through when I hear it afterwards, even if I do hear it afterwards. So it's like being plugged in to a really high light.
Okay. So as you prepare to channel the Syria family, we're going to give you a moment to explain to our audience how you connected with the Syria family and who they are and what you know about where they're from.
Mm-hmm.
And we have our audience here on Zoom. And so can we take questions from our audience, or do you want me to ask some questions as well? I know there'll probably be a general message from the Syria family. But
Well, you're right. There will be a message, and let's see what she does. She might just come out and talk to you. I don't know.
hey,
What would you like to do?
well, if there is anyone in our audience that has a question for this beautiful channel, Sheryl, and the Syria family, you can raise your hands and you can ask a question, and we'll see what comes through. Okay. But and we'll get there after the main message. So Sheryl, please tell us about the Syria family. Are they from Syria's?
Yes, they are. Well, I've been channeling Syria family for a long, long time. Since the 80s. I had experiences as a very young child, and actually they're starting to come in. So excuse me, I might start losing my train of thought here a little bit. What happens for me is I get really hot, and like I am right now, and gets a little difficult for me to talk. So I will try to explain this. I've known them for a long, long time, and have channeled them in other lifetimes. Had experiences quite young in life where I had experiences as a young child where I began to hear spirit and see spirit. When I was in my early teens, I actually had a trance experience where I was in a meditation class in Southern California and did step aside. And my teacher came in and told me, she says, you've been doing this for a long, long time. So I began to take classes and then to really learn. Syria Family did not come to me right off the bat. I was a young child and was learning these things. And so what came to me were what I call safe guides. Native Americans, my former Egyptian family would come to me. And it wasn't until I was really into the process for about 5 years that these beautiful beings came. And I say that to share with everyone because spirit really kind of has our back in that sense, where they know they want to be received as well. And so they along with your higher self and your soul are sort of mapping out your process and your progress. If they would have come to me at 16 years old, it might have been a little bit different. And so they came to me when I was ready to receive them. And when I look back on it, it was really a beautiful methodology. So with me, there were signposts along the ways, not dreams, but actually real life experiences that were bone chilling and hair raising and things like that, that were really quite beautiful.
Okay. All right. So the Sirius family, they're from the star system Sirius.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So, Linda, I see your question here. If you want to raise your hand, you are welcome to do that. All right. Thank you, Sheryl. We're going to let you bring through a message.
Okay. So
say, let's just let it flow. And maybe maybe they're already in tune with what question I'm going to ask. We'll see.
So for everyone, I'm going to do what we've already been talking about, make that connection myself. Syria, when she comes through, it's getting hard to talk. She'll do some toning, and the toning is just beautiful sounds, and they could very much lift you. So I'm going to go now. All right, everybody. Right. Yes. Grease Greetings unto you, dear, dear, dear beings. All right. We are Syria Family. We are very pleased to be here with you. We understand certainly that you have been, let us say, talking about the process therein, talking about how to make those connections, how to bring those allies that are yours on the non-physical, let us say, forefront, and indeed they are. Your guides, your friends that are part of the unseen world begin to understand, to all our friends here, that they are merely a veil away. And in so many, let us say, new frontiers that you all are experiencing in this wonderful time that you call your lifetimes, your guides, your friends are far more present than you realize. Why do you think that channeling is becoming so popular right now? Because you are being awakened, because indeed that you already are being called, you understand, because your friends that have been part of, let us say, many of the different cultures, what you call to be Lemuria, what you call to be Atlantis, what you call to be, let us say, other parts of Asia, are all other parts of yourself that indeed that you have been in the past and the future, coming forward to be with the present self right here and right now. And so in that way, allow yourself to be touched, yes, to be touched by the magic, to be touched by the love, because you did not come here, you see, to figure it out all on your own. You did not come here to be humans that are constantly looking for something else. No, not at all. You came here to bridge the gap for the first time in history, to bridge the gap, to bring that bridge in a sense, to bring all that you have been everywhere where you have going and to bring it into the present now moment. And so channeling, so wide, so vast a topic, certainly, absolutely is a delicious one. And so, Loren, we are here fully. We say greetings unto you, and let us go ahead and begin with our very first question.
Well, thank you. It is so lovely to see you here and to feel your essence.
Yes.
It is commanding. All right. With the state of the world,
Yes.
light workers wishing to fulfill the mission, to do our service roles here and now on earth, what is the best practice? What can we do? What is the best way for us to move forward at this time?
So as this is a collective question, we will answer it collectively. In that particular way, as was already been discussed, to begin to understand that in all you really need to do is to be yourself, to continue rising to that higher aspect of yourself in all that you do, in all that you are becoming, and to realize that indeed you are creating the very future that you want to be in by being in that future now. So let us describe that. If you say, well, all right, I need to move forward. I want to do more. We hear quite often, I want to do more. I don't feel like I'm really doing enough, we hear our friends say. And the way that we want to answer that is that if you are continuing to belittle yourself, if you are continuing to say, well, indeed, I'm not doing enough, I need to do more, then you're really shooting yourself really in the foot in that particular way. And so you don't want to do that. You want to say, well, I'm doing a jolly well of a good job, and I desire to do more. I desire to bring more of a frequency in. I want to bring that future into the now moment. And how you do that is by realizing that in order to bring the future into the now moment is to become that, is to start living that dream right here and now, you understand, to be that right here and right now. And so in that way, there will always be a future. There will always be a timeline out there that you are reaching forward. And so if you do reach forward and pull it in to the now moment, you have become that, and you have become what it is that you're wanting to create. Does that make sense?
It does. Yes. Thank you.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Powerful. Thank you. Health. I can hear a question for health.
Yes.
What is necessary to maintain and have perfect health?
All right, quite individual for everyone. Let's have this individual be a wee bit more specific, please.
If someone is faced with a diagnosis,
Yes.
what can they do to be at ease of mind? What is a necessary protocol so that they can connect to their higher self for
Right.
healing? How would one, we hear Dr. Joe Dispenza, he's got a practice that lets people heal themselves. And so there could be doubt in people's minds. So if someone is on that journey, what would be the best approach for them
First
on
of
this
all,
healing journey?
yes, indeed. And we understand truly you receive a diagnosis, and certainly it can be very frightening. First of all, absolutely you want to connect to the physical form. Yes. If that physical form has received a diagnosis, no matter what that it is, you want to connect to yourself before you go out, before you step aside. Yes, it is a physical form that's been diagnosed in that sense, not the higher self, not the soul. It is the physical form. And so connect to yourself. What is it that the diagnosis, begin to find the anatomy of it? What is that organ, that methodology of the body? Begin to channel that. If it could speak to you, what would it say? What kind of writing would you do? What is it yearning for? What is it needing in that way? How can you bring it into the matrix that is you? Because that diagnosis in that particular sense is only a fragment of the consciousness that is wanting to come into full form. It's wanting to come into full frequency. And after you do that, then you begin to connect to the higher self and say, these are some of the answers that I've received from this diagnosis. How can we begin to work together? How can we begin to create a new map where I am living my best dream, where I am feeling the greatest physical form that indeed that I can? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes, indeed.
Yes. And one of the big things that we see is the environment. There are so many that want to help the environment. Is this something that we need to just tune into our higher self for, or what ways can we step into a great role to assist the environment at this time?
Yes, indeed. How beautiful indeed. Well, first of all, to realize that indeed that you are part of the environment. Yes, you have water inside of you. You have fire inside of you. When that fire gets out of balance, it's called inflammation. And so in that particular way, you already have the elements inside of you, the same elements. You have air inside of you. Yes, you're breathing. You also have earth inside of you, which is located in your colon area. So it is to your own benefit to realize, if you want to help the environment, is to help thyself in that particular way, to understand how those elements work within you. And when you get all of those harmonized, then you will be a living, breathing example of walking in nature, and how nature is really walking in you. And that is how you help the environment. And that's how you go out. And then you can do so-called nature walks. And then you can bring people. And then you can be that teacher in that particular way, what you are allowed to, in that particular way, bring unto thyself. And so you are earth walking in earth. Make sense?
Beautiful.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you so much for that.
Yes, of course.
I can hear our group asking also about manifestation and abundance. What is the vibration? What is necessary to manifest and bring abundance into our lives?
All right. Well, again, quite a delicious topic, yes, where abundance could be quite different for everyone. If it's a monetary, yes, if it is abundance in health, if it is abundance in love, you see. But to realize there are no limitations in any of that, and so why create it? Yes, why have that belief system that would suggest that there is limitation when there is none at all? And you say, well, that's not exactly how my life is going, Syria family. It's not exactly how it's going. Well, I'm experiencing lack and I'm frightened about it. Yes. And so that is where you want to sit down with pen and paper. You want to examine, why is it that I'm experiencing lack in these particular frontiers? What have I learned? And be incredibly honest with yourself. Be incredibly trusting with yourself. Really, what have I learned? And what am I willing to step aside from and to bring in a new frequency? A lot of times it's simply the willingness to let go really of what you have already known and to let in what it is that you don't know. A lot of times that is far more frightening than the old, you see, because the old is familiar and the new is not. Make sense?
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, indeed.
As we go through our ascension process, we're
Yes.
learning about the light body. Can you share with us what the light body is and how we activate it?
Yes, indeed. Well, delicious. And we love your questions. Absolutely. The activation of the light body certainly is exactly as it is stated. It is a light body that is built on light. And so one of the ways truly to activate it is really what this thesis today has been all about, is that you must begin to understand is how do I separate myself? How do I relax? How do I put to sleep the overactive mind? You see, there's all kinds of initiations, we would call them, that you have participated in the past, primarily in Egypt, when there was long periods of isolation, when there was long periods of initiation in which you were able to detach from the physical form and to move into your etheric form and to move into the light body consciousness. Your light body is already awake. The question becomes is how often do you utilize her? How often do you really bring her in? You see, and when you go into what you call those downloads, yes, well, I was downloaded last night, or I've been downloaded these last couple of days, or they came in a download. It is the activation right there of the light body self. Yes, it makes sense to you.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. And so you have mentioned Egypt several times. And what we find fascinating is that there is a huge trend for Egypt right now among light workers. Many, many, many are being called to Egypt. Can you share what's going on there and the connection between Sirius and Egypt?
Oh, yes. Well, a delicious topic. Absolutely. For certain, and we could go on and on and on about that, but those that are being called Egypt right now, there is an awakening there that's been going on for a long, long, long time. Some would say that it has been uncovered, but no, that is not it. It's been slowly, the light consciousness therein has been slowly emerging. In that way, those souls that, let us say, not only had frequencies there, not only have experiences there, but are being called, in a sense, to let us say, awaken any stored resources that have not been awakened in the physical form as of yet, are now being awakened to return, in a sense, to a place in which they know, a place in which they love, in terms of frequency, in terms of a frequency alignment. Now, those concepts, those structures, known as the pyramid of forces they're in, as you look at them, as you appear to look at them on the outside, they do not have any windows, yes? They do not have any caverns where you can open up the front door and the light comes in, or you can open up the window and the light comes in, but instead the light is at the top of the pyramid, the pinnacle in that particular way, where there is a shaft, you understand, and in that shaft, when those pyramids, when the light of the star system of Sirius comes in exact alignment, you see, on July 23rd, when it is an exact alignment, the light of Sirius lights up each and every chamber within the pyramids. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that a particular concept in that way? And so that is an activation, a full activation in that way of the divine self, of the light body self. And in that way, a tremendous, tremendous ascension can occur. And so people are beginning to feel that they want to experience that. Yes.
Yes. And so ascension.
Yes.
And the great shift of these ages.
Yeah. You are in it right now.
Can you talk more about this great shift and where we're heading? Do you see that for us? Can you give us any idea of what that might look like?
You're in it right now. You see, there's a hologram going on. You live in a holographic form here on planet Earth, and you would say, well, no, I don't really see it that way, because what I touch over here is physical, but it is a hologram, you understand. It is a hologram that you each and every create. You saw that very loudly, very clearly in your COVID years, where each of you were experiencing something completely radically different Yes, where some were experiencing tremendous fear, some tremendous hope, some believed in the vaccine, some did not, some were afraid of COVID, thought it was this, it was a hologram that was being, you were all really in your own type of hologram. And now that that's been burst and realities have come forward, now you're in another hologram. And the hologram that you are creating for each and every one of you is this entrancement, this enchantment of what is going to be happening. You see, what is it going to look like? What are we going to find? And you're right now in the technological age, you see, and you're just getting started at it. So those of you that are very excited about computers and very excited about technology and very excited about AI, for example, it's just getting started. And we would invite you to utilize these concepts with a great deal of consciousness. All right, not to give your power to them, not to having them do anything for you, but how can you co-create with them? And that is going to lead you to another state of consciousness, and that is what you call to be your ascension. You see, your ascension is not being in one spot. Yes, it's not where you're just standing and experience it all, but you are moving in consciousness with the said energy. And the said energy right now is technology, and that will lead you to a greater spirituality. So you are in constant movement with it all. Now, right now, what is different about this stage of consciousness that you're in and how it differs from other stages of consciousness, and let us say within the past, is that when your world, when the society that you all created began to rumble and crumble and shift, though it would be followed by the dark ages, so to speak. And in those dark ages, you decided collectively that we don't want this anymore. We don't want to do it that way anymore. And so this time around, that when you are changing reality, which you are doing right now in your ascension process, you're changing reality, you're changing the reality, and you're creating the, let's say, the positivity and the blissfulness and the perfection that you want as you're seeing the decline of the realities in which you do not want. And so it is a symbiotic relationship of the past meeting the future in what we like to call your divine, current, ascended self, right here, right now. Does that make sense too?
It does. And there's so many things that need changing and upgrading.
Yes. And you're right before your very eyes.
Right before our very eyes. And you mentioned the COVID years. That actually was a catalyst in this change, this great change and this great shift.
Yes, indeed.
So we've got the medical field, the educational field, and we can even point to the political field. That is getting a little crazy.
The scientific field.
The scientific field.
Been mentioned as of yet.
So I guess this is why channeling is so important, this interconnection of wisdom to bring forward this wisdom as we build new things. Can you speak more about this?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. As was already shared here, and you in the channel, Sheryl, already discussed, it is when the light, your friends that are already in spirit, come and connect with your permission, with you on the physical, a new combustion of energy is exchanged, a new combustion of energy is formed, a combustion of energy is created, and a new consciousness is born in the channeling process. It is beautiful. It is beautiful. And what happens to the human? The human gets a chance to experience themselves as light. And that is beautiful as well. And so it is a process.
Exquisite, exquisite.
We would encourage you. Yes. And once you open that door, it is a lifetime of discovery.
Well, we greet the open door. We embrace the open door and boldly walk through it. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, indeed.
Here's some questions from our audience. We have some in our chat, and I'm going to unmute some people. So Linda says, 5959 Linda says, I feel like I've had a lifetime in Egypt long ago.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes, indeed. That's why you're feeling it, dear love. Yes, indeed. Allow yourself to be lifted, to be carried, to journey there, if so to speak. We sense that you can begin to call upon that former self right now, for the former self lives within you, and it is becoming activated in that sense. You can go ahead and, as you journey to your nighttime sleep, ask for a dream. Asked to be guided, asked to what, just for a whisper, for a statement, for a charm in that way, to awaken you to what it is that past life holds. So follow the mystery therein, follow the guidance therein.
Thank you. Following the guidance.
Yes.
It's very interesting. Nancy just dropped a note that says, I dreamt of channeling this morning.
Yes, well, we are delighted to have you here. You see, you are being guided to be here with us. We are delighted. Welcome, welcome, welcome to a lifetime of discovery and openness. And most of all, love. Yes. Because as we always say, we love you. Yes, we love you. But when you've had enough, we have even more.
Thank you. Sadaf has a question. Sadaf, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, says, I had a dream last night that brought me here, and now I believe to ask, is there any connection between Sirius, my beloved Syrian ancestry lineage, Venus, and the planet Neptune?
Yes, well, there would be different aspects, of course, like the diamond in the sky, yes, like the crystal that indeed that you are. And so for you specifically, the Neptunian energy, the Venus energy would be and could be termed as male and female aspects of yourself, and coming together in the future would be one, could be looked at, should be looked at as the guiding force within your Syrian matrix self. If you decided to embark upon a journey in which you were learning about thyself, you would learn about, indeed, contained therein would be the mystery of the self that is contained within the knowledge of Venus, and also the higher consciousness of the Neptunian energies, all which you will find in the journey to the self. Wonderful indeed.
Thank you. Sherry has a question. The cetaceans are my family. Is there any message?
All right, give us a moment here. You have been called for quite some time. You often feel the consciousness around you, but it intervenes with your own consciousness. And so therefore, in that way, you begin to doubt it. Find yourself a body of water. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to move. We don't mean that. Even if you are standing in a pool of water, in your shower, in your bathtub, even if you are washing your hands in a pond of water within your sink, this kind of frequency will allow you to move in such a way that you become in alignment with them. It will not be a vertical light, but it will be a horizontal one. And it will require you shifting out of the said consciousness in which you are in. So try those methodologies that we mentioned. Yes.
So beautiful. Thank you.
Yes, indeed.
And Marlene, I am going to allow you to unmute yourself, and you can ask your question that you just placed in the Q&A box.
Okay. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. I just enrolled in a mastermind program, which was way more expensive than I could afford. And for whatever reason, I felt guided to it. And now I'm absolutely scared and wondering if I've done the right thing, or if you can give me any guidance, that would be great.
Well, of course, absolutely. Well, you were guided, certainly, by the part of you that wants change, yes? So you were guided in a sense to move yourself forward. But when you started looking practically, when the ego came in and said, what are you doing? Why did you do this? Where are these resources going to be coming from? They can become very heavy within the system. They can become very heavy within the consciousness. And in that way, they became heavier than the guidance. And in that sense, you began to doubt yourself. So here you are weighing, did I make the right decision? Because this one seems more prolific because it's heavier. We invite you to tune.
Okay, let's wait for Sheryl to come back with the Syria family. She just got bumped off our Zoom.
Wow, that's how powerful the energy is, and it's just so palpable.
And because she's channeling, I'm not certain that she's going to know because she's channeling, right? So let's just hope that her internet connection comes back. Let's hold a field. Let's call on our higher selves to bring her back on for an automatic connection on Zoom. Sometimes it's magic that way. Wow. So Marlene, as she was sharing, I know she was still in the middle of it, but was any of that resonating?
Oh, absolutely. The heaviness, the fear that I feel is just heavy. It's just like, where are the resources coming from? Like, that's all I'm hearing. Where are the resources coming from? And so she's just bang on, because I really felt like I was guided. I channel too. I'm a what they call whatever, cross channel or whatever they call it. And I wanted to enroll in a program to do that.
Mm.
And what came to me is this group is the group that I enrolled in, and then came the offer to go channeling. So I was like, okay, I've spent all my money on this one thing, and will I be able to now take this channeling course? You know what I mean? So like everything's coming in all at once. All these opportunities are coming in all at once.
Okay, it's interesting how that happens. Very interesting how that happens. It's almost as if you were guided to the mastermind group so that you could bring more of the channeling. Maybe.
Yes, to bring the finances in.
Okay, so see, you already know what to do. Your higher self is guiding you.
It's so interesting because as soon as I put down the question, they said to me, well, you already have the answer. Isn't that funny? And now I'm getting confirmation, because something, because I don't channel for myself, I channel for others, right?
Mm-hmm. We have a question. Destiny would like to know, what's the mastermind group?
It's a business. It's a internet marketing.
Well, see, how perfect is that? How perfect is that? Because you are a light worker getting the necessary skills to take this out in the world.
Yep. Internet marketing and whatever. And every time I turn around, it's a very heart-centered group, but there's other programs out there that teach the same thing, and they're cheaper. So as soon as I finished the transaction, and I'm starting to go on, everybody's talking about it.
Okay, well,
She's got a cat just like mine.
Loren, I came.
Sheryl,
I think my computer crashed.
it was, we were just commenting on the energy that was coming through. Marlene was saying that you were spot on, that the message was spot on with where she was. And so we're glad that you're on your phone, Sheryl.
I guess my laptop crashed. Oh my gosh, that's never happened.
Is that a real cat in the background? Oh no, it's not.
She is a real cat in the background. Yeah.
Oh, I have one just like that. That's why I was asking.
She's made her transition though, so I have her picture back there. Yeah. So anyway, my computer crashed. It's never happened before.
Yeah, a lot of energy coming through on that. Wow. So what would you
Anyway,
like,
I'm back, everybody. It's me, Sheryl.
Sheryl?
Yeah.
So we thank the Syria family for being here. Do you want to try to bring them back? Or what would you like to do? We could chat some more, or have we finished our opportunity with them, or is it easy to bring them back?
Well, do we have more questions?
We have a few.
Well, they didn't finish, we didn't quite finish hearing the answer to my question.
Oh, I thought that would, okay.
Yeah, it dropped right in the middle, like right in the middle. It was like, oh goodness.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Sheryl.
All right, well, greetings then. And yes, as we were saying, so here you are. You had your guidance that brought you to making the current decision in that way. Well, you knew that you wanted to participate in something new in your reality. You wanted change in your reality. We sense a little bit of you were feeling so that you were stuck. And so in that particular way, you take this class. Yes, you're all excited about this class, this new series, this master series, as you begin to call it. And then when you begin to think about let's just say, the logistics of it, what it's going to cost you, how much time it's going to ensure, that's when the doubt begins to come in. And so that becomes a little bit heavier, as we were already suggesting. And in that way, as you begin to weigh them out, it was the one that was heavier that got more attention. And so what we'd like for you to do is focus on your initial, let's just say, your initial guidance. That's what guided you to begin with. You're wanting change in your reality, dear friend. You're wanting to move forward. And so as you begin to dive into what this series is, you're going to begin to discover more about yourself. You're going to begin to uncover really more of these hidden treasures. And so we can't tell you what to do, but we would say simply follow what it is mainly in your heart that is going to lead you. Let your heart be your guidance. Let your heart be the beacon. Follow that light there. And there's always going to be that side of yourself that's going to be doubting, because it's become very strong. And so you don't want to make it more stronger by listening to it. Does that make sense to you?
Marlene.
Yes, that makes sense. Or I muted myself a bit. Oh my goodness, thank you so much, because it has become stronger.
Yes, indeed. We can sense the weight. Yes.
Yeah, it is. It's like an anchor.
Yes, it is. So you want to deactivate that part of yourself. You see, the part that you listen to is the one that you feed, in a sense. Yes, and so you want to put them out in front of you and say, which one do I want to give power to? You see, it becomes like a muscle that you're exercising. Yes, in that particular way. And so we can feel that that this is a battle, dear love, that you often have. Yes, as to what decision to make. And then when you do make a decision, then you want to automatically doubt it. You want to automatically pierce it pierce that balloon and have it slowly dissipate right in front of you. And so this is a lovely opportunity to stop all of that and to realize that it's simply a change in course. I'm going to do it differently this time. It might be a little bit frightening, but I'm going to do it differently. And to forgive yourself for all the times in the past when you have had that glorious balloon right in front of you and pierced it with that needle and watched it to deflate, only to find yourself really in the same place. Yes, makes sense to you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Beautiful imagery. Thank you very much.
Yes, indeed. Of course. Our joy, our pleasure, indeed.
Beautiful. All right. We have just a few more questions. Thank you.
Yes,
I'm
indeed.
going to have Destiny ask her question. Destiny, hello.
Hi, Moran. Hi, Sheryl. Hi, Syria.
Yes, indeed. Cheryl's not with us, but we are. Yes. How are you, dear love?
Oh, I have been better. I'm actually feeling a lot right now, and I'm wondering if she could tell me how to disconnect from what I'm currently feeling and come into what I really choose to be here now.
All right, you're feeling it because on some level you want to feel it. And so we cannot tell you, we just don't feel it anymore. That doesn't make sense, does it? But if you want to step out of what you're feeling, at first, don't allow yourself to be in denial of it. What is it that you're feeling? To be very clear, what's the anatomy of it? How did it come to you? How is it enriddling you? What's enchanting about it? What's frightening about it? What did it take from you? What did it give to you? And after you allow yourself those questions and step out of it by giving yourself permission. So let's say that you are completely embedded in fear and heartbreak. Yes, completely embedded in fear and heartbreak, that you don't see any positivity towards the future. You don't see any reason to move forward. You have no energy to do anything at all. We would invite you to sit with that just for a few moments. You don't have to become that. We just sit with it. This is how I feel. I feel disconnected from the world. I feel disconnected from the vibration of love. I feel disconnected from hope. I feel disconnected from our creativity. And I feel lonelier than I've ever felt, than I've ever known. And it has brought me to the depth of my beingness. And then we want you to look around in that cave. And what do you see there as you look around? And as you are in the depth of your being, as you're there in that isolated cave and you begin to look around, you're going to realize that there's points of light. There's a light over there. There's another light over there. And there's another light down there. And it would be your job to find those lights and to pick them up, and to pick up those balls of light and then to look at them and see what they are made of. And just as you are beginning to do that, you're beginning to shift your consciousness. And you are beginning to realize that the greatest misconception that you give yourself is that you are alone when you are not. And so you see that light again, and you begin to look at it. You begin to ingest it. You begin to see the enchanted nature of that light, and you let it become you, and you let yourself channel it, and you become one with that light. And that is how you shift out of the present domain and to enter another one. Does that make sense to you?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Very good.
Thank you. Thank you, Destiny.
Yes,
Okay.
indeed. Yes, indeed.
A few more beautiful questions. Cindy says, I have 2 job offers to choose between this week, and neither are my dream jobs. Do you have some advice?
All right. So you have 2 jobs, and neither are your dream jobs. Where are you now? What is the job that you're in now? So those are the questions to ask yourself, that you have created 2 in front of you. You've created 2 in front of you. That is not exactly what you want, but does one hold any frequency of your dream job? Does one hold any frequency of the dream job? To begin to ask yourself, if I stay where I'm at, can I trust myself enough to create a dream job? That's a question that you want to ask yourself. And you want to also put yourself in the position of the 2 jobs that are before you. One, we sense, will be a catalyst to another one. One will be a catalyst to another one. If you choose to take one of them, you will not stay there for a long time. It will bridge the gap to another one. It will be a hop, skip, and a jump, per se, in that way. And so it would be to use your intuition to connect to yourself, which one will be that catalyst. So you've created a doorway that's really quite beautiful before you. Does that make sense to you, dear love?
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, indeed, of course.
Okay, final 2 questions. Thank you. These questions actually help each of us in our own unique ways. Nancy has a question. I have stopped working because I no longer believe that it's what I am here to do. However, I need to receive money as I have run out. I know I will be working as a light worker. What do I do in the meantime for income?
All right. What do you do for income?
one of the energies that you want to stay out of, which will be very difficult, is that vibration called fear, because it can be very depleting. We would invite you to step out, dear love, to step out in frequencies, to step out into the unknown, to step out into perhaps see yourself doing something that you haven't really done before. Perhaps it's volunteering, perhaps it's going to different places and introducing yourself, because in that way, you're going to spread your frequency. And as you're spreading your frequency, you're already working really as a light worker. So for you, it's going to be connecting more. It's going to be moving in the connectable spaces where you can begin to shine your light. Now, you say, what does that have to do with revenue? What does that have to do with currency? It has a lot to do with currency, because the currency that you're in is a very slippery slope for all of you. It's a slippery slope. You have some, then you don't. You have some, and then you don't. And we don't really see that changing, you see, in the world the way that it is right now, which is all changing. So get yourself more visible. Don't allow yourself to be in the home per se as much. To get out, to become more visible, to place yourself in more what you would call to be. We're going to call it really the unknown, to venture into the unknown, and through that there's going to be some doorway opens to help you create more of a financial stability. Make sense too?
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So we'll stay in the body for, as you say, one more. Yes,
This is the last one, and this is a beautiful one for all of us. Linda asks, any suggestions for help in putting our downloads into understandable form that can be passed along to others? I know the downloading is happening within, but many times I find I must just trust in it. I know it's important to pass on to others.
all right, so let us ask the question, is this download happening non-verbally? To Linda, is it happening non-verbally with you?
Linda, you can type that in. Is that happening non-verbally? The downloads. Yes.
All right. So you're sensing a frequency coming. You're sensing an illumination coming, and you're sensing that you are being raised in a sense. So you are being given raw, pure energy. And because you are loved so much, dear friends, and all of you, you're loved so much and you are trusted. It's up to you to decide how you want to give that energy. Perhaps you want to plant some flowers that day. Perhaps you want to randomly be loving with everyone that you meet, which we would suggest. Perhaps you are out in your vehicle that day and you see someone stopped by the road, and normally you would just keep driving, but you stop to see if they need assistance. Perhaps you're in the grocery store and you see a child crying, looking for its parent, but you don't have time because you have to get somewhere, and you stop time, you bend space to be with that child, to help them find their parent to safety. These are the ways that you can decode the downloads and transmit them into your world. Make sense?
Beautiful.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
That is all that is being asked.
Thank you.
With these beautiful downloads that you're all receiving, with these beautiful transmissions that come, with these dreams that you have, with these synchronicities that happen, with these incredible loving moments, you're meant to share them. And how you share them. So many of our friends ask us, what is my destiny? And we say, whatever moves you to tears. If you look at the morning paper and you are moved to tears by what is happening in this part of the world, or you are moved to tears because you want to get involved in this particular, excuse us as we allow the channel's body to cough, and you want to get involved in this particular arena, you are being called to that. So to give yourself permission to be lifted by what is coming to you, to share it in your own creativity. And in that way, you are ascending. You are becoming the magicians of the world today. And so in that way, it has been a joy. It has been a pleasure. We knew it would be. We always say that, you understand. And so we are Syria family. We love you. We love you. We love you. We love you. And when you've had enough, we have even more. Good day, good evening. We are signing off and bringing our channel back.
Okay, what a beautiful transmission from the Syria family. Very helpful, the words, the wisdom, the suggestions, the advice, the frequency of light helps us remember our mission, and it emboldens us. And there are a few questions that came in that were not able to be answered, but we hope that the wisdom that was brought forth actually helped you want to go out, do your mission, transcend all fear, be courageous, be your authentic self, as we were guided to be by Syria family. Thank you, Sheryl. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, thank you for having us.
And watching you trans channel, if that's the proper word for it, you were different. You were bringing through such beauty and such wisdom. Really very cool. Very cool to witness. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for seeing that and seeing them for who they are. And we've been together for a long, long time.
Beautiful. And so for our wonderful audience on this path, you've witnessed how Sheryl operates, how the Syria family comes through her to advise you. And if you could benefit from a 1-hour session, one-on-one with Sheryl, channeling the Syria family for you, this is an incredible opportunity. You can ask any question. This would be like your own consulting question with beings of light that will absolutely guide you. We've heard from the audience who asked their questions that it really resonates, that it was like shocking. It was beautiful. Sheryl, can you share on your special offer, which I'm going to put in the chat box. And of course, it's on this webpage. Look in the description box for where you're watching or listening to this video. Sheryl, this is a beautiful offering. Thank you.
Gosh, I don't know what to say other than exactly what you already did. I think private sessions are really wonderful, that it is really just unique between you and Syria family. I don't know too much about it unless you choose to share it with me, and you're more than welcome to, but you don't have to. It's really between you and them. And a wide variety of topics can be discussed. So it's really whatever you want to talk about. They can be incredibly helpful in moving you forward. They can be giving you assignments to do, very much like today, but really it's very personal to you. And I just can't say it enough that people call and talk about all kinds of things. And there's phenomenal healing that can happen when you know that you're talking to someone there's this full trust. It's not going to really go anywhere. I really just can't really say enough about it. It's so loving, it's poignant, and it's unique to you.
Yes, beautiful. Those are recorded for people to listen to later as well.
Well, we can do that in a myriad of ways. We can meet on Zoom. We can, it depends on where you're calling from, wherever it is in the world. But you would email me and we would discuss what's unique to you. Probably Zoom, that's really the most popular. And at that point, there is a recording that I do. I find that some people can't open the Zoom, and so I'll always invite them to have a follow-up mechanism for themselves, like a cell phone or something like that.
Okay, beautiful.
Just like I had here today. My cell phone was close by. Thank goodness.
Yes, yes, prepared. Okay. We adapt to everything in our life. We adapt. That's the name of the game. So
Yeah.
then there's
Well
also
said.
In addition to this hour one-on-one consulting session, there's an option for 30 minutes of energy healing. This is new. Tell us about this.
You know, we didn't talk about that much today, but I don't know if my hands were shown on my laptop. I see it here on my phone, but Syria Family moves my hands a lot, and my hands get very hot. So there's always a transmission of healing that's happening, or energy, however you'd like to use the energy that's coming forward. Even in the toning that she starts, those high frequency pitches can really help in assisting us, in particular, to release our ego. I don't know if anybody could sense that sometimes people feel a little dreamy, or they feel a little wobbly, or they thought they were going to ask something and then like, oh, I can't remember now, I'm going to ask this. And that's because we are being encouraged to learn how to step aside. And so those tones help us do that. And they can also be very specifically in an energy transmission for healing the body. Very specifically for healing the body, the physical form. We've been doing energy work for many, many, many years, and I have found that doing remote really can be more powerful than meeting one-on-one on the physical form. And that's for a myriad of reasons. Number one, you don't have to drive over to my place. You don't have to lay down. You don't have to get back in the car and drive home. But what we do is we meet at the end of the day, where you're complete with your day. And I guide you, and then Syria Family will come through, and just as if you were right in front of us, and then you go directly to bed, and the treatment continues. So I think that was with package B. You could talk with Syria Family, and then we do the transmission. So it'd be both of those.
Yes, what a gift. Thank you for that option. And there's a final one here. It's called The Future Creates the Presence Against the Backdrop of the Past. What is this?
This can be a lot of fun. And this is for people that feel like they've already done a lot of past life work and know a lot about themselves and really want to dive into the future. Like, who's your future self? What is your future self doing? How does your future self, and you can channel your future self too. And what would that future self say to your current self? And so that future self is already alive. They're already functioning. They're already breathing. It can be the future self 10 years from now, or it can be a future self 100 light years away. And so I would say, if you're interested in that, you would be the seeker that's probably been doing this for a while and already has a lot of knowledge about who you are in your past life and perhaps our past lives. Now, let me just say, past lives really come up for healing. And that is because the soul has already integrated all those wonderful ones. And so usually the past life comes up because that's the aspect that's looking for healing on this wonderful path of ascension, and all the beauty that's there. That one past life that's wounded says, don't leave me out. I want to be part of this. So when we're stronger, when we've had experience, it's the time to look at that one that might not be so wonderful in the moment, and to heal that, and then move to our future. So the fun never stops, you guys. It just never does.
It is so beautiful, those past life sessions that people can do. I've had them myself, and they are life-changing, life-transforming, because the healing that takes place is quantum. What does that mean? It just means that the feeling, there's a relief when we integrate that part of us, that we can then see so clearly how it was affecting us. So it's beautiful work, really beautiful work. Thank you so much for these offerings. They are exquisite. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, it's just wonderful to be back here with you again. We thank you for your time today. As we part ways, we want to just give you a moment for any final thoughts or words of wisdom.
Oh, just thank you for having me. I love channeling Syria Family, everybody. It's been a long time with us. We both love initiating other people on this path. I just can't say it enough. It really is the backbone. It's not just an airy-fairy word to use, love, 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 but it really is the foundation to this. So hopefully that came clear.
It's clear, and we are grateful to you. Thank you for this, and thank you all, Bright Lights, for being here. Your love matters in our world, and we are so grateful for you and your role. Step up, be bold, and go forward in love. Thank you, Sheryl, and thank you, everyone. Namaste.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Loren.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you for listening to this quantum conversation, and thank you for dancing with us to the cosmic heart. As we raise our own vibration, we raise the vibration of the planet. This show is dedicated to you and all awakening hearts, as we are here to shine our bright light and amplify our love. Access all quantum conversations, special offers from our guests, and online healing retreats by visiting acoustichealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and from my sacred heart to yours, I honor your magnificent love and light. We leave you now with music from the universe. Music literally created by the universe, as musical notes were assigned to mathematical equations. The result is this beautiful music, available at acoustichealth.com. Namaste.